Are you ready to turn heads? Luxury isn't just worn, it's experienced. Introducing a Layla Cara style and new up-and-coming designer collection where exclusive shoes and bags for men and women meets your feet. How about you take a handbag and wear it in style, where each piece is personally designed by a Layla Cara herself and handcrafted from the finest material in Italy. Leather, smooth like butter, bold, timeless, distinctly you. Step into true elegance and make your mark with a Layla Cara style where confidence meets craftsmanship. Visit a Layla Cara style and experience the luxury of art that you wear. I just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care about you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Okay, so this podcast is about forgiveness. Why is forgiveness important in relationships? A lot of us have been hurt. Pretty much everybody has been hurt. I don't know anyone who can actually say that they've never been done wrong before. But let's just say that if everybody has been done wrong, and if every person who's been done wrong decide to not forgive the people or the person who have wronged them, then everybody will be going around with hate in their heart for each other. So, the art of forgiveness. Why is it important? Forgiveness is a cornerstone of any healthy and lasting relationship because it allows both partners to grow, to heal, and to maintain a sense of connection. Well, also, forgiveness is important because if you have done somebody wrong, because you're not perfect now, and whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, like you did not really mean it, it was not done on purpose, but you still hurt them, wouldn't you want to be forgiven? Come on now, think about it. Do you want to be forgiven when you do somebody wrong? And if your answer is yes, then why can't you forgive them too? So as you know, I started off singing a little melody of Stevie Wonder, and it's a song from back in the 80s. That song used to be one of my favorite songs of Stevie Wonder. And of course, I like Ribbon in the Sky for Your Love as well. But that song is one of those songs that tell you that the person who's calling on the other end is calling just to say, I love you and that I care about you. And not only that I love you and care about you, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. So I just want to hear your voice. We don't have anything in specific to talk about or discuss, but I want to hear your voice. And if there's somebody in your life that you haven't talked to in a very long time, and you know you love that person, just call them and Just let them know that you love them. Even if you have to just say, look, I know that I hurt you or that you hurt me, but I'm just calling to say I care about you. So, today's podcast is about why is forgiveness important in a relationship. You have your boyfriend, you got your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, you even have your children, you have your best friends, your colleague, your partner. That is a relationship, okay? So when I am going to be talking about boyfriend and girlfriend romantic relationship, I'm also talking about all the other relationships as well. You can actually put this in any category as you like. So if you're not in a relationship, you ain't dealing with all those issues as far as forgiveness and untrust, whatever, romantically, but you might be dealing with family dynamics. You might want to go ahead and try to listen anyway. Because if you're not dealing with it now, sooner or later, you're going to come across some situation that's going to make you have to address an issue where you're going to have to forgive the person you're with, or they're going to have to forgive you. Because no one is perfect. So, here is why forgiveness is so important. First off, it promotes healing and emotional release. Holding on to resentment or anger can create emotional wounds that over time, it creates negative emotions inside of you. It also creates bitterness and make you want to lash out at others. Forgiveness helps you to release negative emotions, making room for healing and peace. Also, forgiveness is important because it builds trust. And we just talked about trust issues, okay? So, if you have been having trust issues in your relationship or with people, well, you might want to start learning to forgive that person for what they've done. Forgive those who wronged you, all right? It also builds strength, and what it does is strengthening your bond with your mate. It brings you closer together because it's just something about having a person that does something wrong to you, or let's say, for instance, you did something wrong to them, and they forgive you for that. What that did for you is demonstrated grace for you, or you demonstrated grace for them, which makes them become grateful towards you. Because when you forgive a person, when you forgive your mate, or your mate forgives you, or vice versa, however it goes, that lets the person know that you're human and that they're human, and they have room enough to grow and to make the mistake. Because it's nothing like the pressure of having somebody constantly make you feel that you got to be perfect all the time. That is hard to do. And it's so hard to where God even knew how hard it was for us to be perfect, that He sent His only begotten Son to earth to come down in human form and to be born through a woman and to lay down His life for us and to die for us. And He died without sin. So He chose to step into the gap for us because He knew there was no way we can live up to God's commandments, the commandments that He had laid for us in the times of Moses, we couldn't live up for that. We couldn't live to that. We're human. We're flawed. We're going to make mistakes. And not only are we going to make mistakes, we have desires inside of us that is sinful and that causes us to want things like being greedy, also want things that satisfy our flesh, and want things that is selfish, So for Christ to come here for us and to die for us, it put us in a place where he can stand in the gap for us. So like when we mess up, he can stand right there to God and say, Father, I already took away that sin that she had. I've already forgiven her. I've forgiven him. So God said, okay, son, since you forgave them, I will too. But see, before Christ, it wasn't like that. Before Christ came, it was more like, oh, you gonna pay for that. What you just did, you gonna pay for that. For example, Moses, when he struck the rock, God gave Moses instructions to talk to the rock so he can give the people of Israel water to drink. But Moses was so angry at the Israelites for what they was doing when he had left to go and fast all those days, about 40 days, 40 nights. He hit the rock and God got angry with Moses. And instead of allowing Moses to be forgiven in that way and let him into the promised land, he said, nope, you're not going to make it to the promised land. I'll show you the promised land, let you see what it look like, but you ain't going in. You're going to die. And that's the type of situation that you don't want to be in. That's why the art of forgiveness is so important. So when someone apologizes and is forgiven, it demonstrates maturity, respect, and understanding. Okay? It also demonstrates mutual respect. So you got the maturity, meaning that the person is mature enough to say, hey, I messed up. I need forgiveness. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Well, that's a mature part of them. But it also demonstrates the mutual respect that they have for you because they're asking for forgiveness, because they're apologizing to you. They're showing you that they actually respect you too. And not only they respect you, they respect your feelings, okay? That whatever they did, it hurt you. So it gives you the opportunity to understand them better. It also gives you the understanding to know where they stand with you. Okay? How much they value you, how important you are to them. This can rebuild your trust for those of you who have trust issues. This part can actually help rebuild your trust as well as deepening the emotional bond that you have together between each other. So don't be afraid to say I'm sorry. But when you say you're sorry, please mean it. I want to let you know that a true repentance is changed behavior. Not I'm sorry, and then you go back and repeat the behavior. That's not sorry. That's just you trying to just make the person forget about how they really feel about you for what you did to them and that they're in pain for what you did to them. True repentance is changed behavior. All right? Just to let you know that. So another reason why it's important is because it reduces conflict and resentment. Without forgiveness, small conflict can escalate into larger issues. Forgiving each other, it prevents grudges from piling up. It also allows the relationship to move forward. Have you ever been in a relationship where you just can't get past an issue? You just constantly keep dwelling in the past. And it's like you think once you have discussed the issue that you're able to move past it and you think you have moved some step forward, but then The next time you get into an argument, the person brings up that situation again, and now you're arguing behind the situation, and so you just basically went back into time. That is the reason why you want to forgive each other. And I mean, really forgive each other, because you will be bringing that stuff back into your life. I know for me, when I had situations going with my exes, and this is all of them that I've dated and married. When I actually forgave them, I didn't talk about it no more. I just really washed it away. Sometimes I was so good at washing it away that I would literally forget what we was tripping off of, why I was mad at them in the first place. I would literally forget until they did it again. Then I will remember, wait a minute, you did this before. You did this to me before. So I want to forgive you and let it go, but it's hard to let it go when you keep doing the same old stuff. So I just got to keep addressing this issue, because you haven't stopped what you did. I forgave you for it, but then you're doing it again. So now I'm back there again. So this is why forgiveness is so important. It also encourages growth and self-reflection. Forgiveness involves empathy. Now, we talked about empathy before in some of my past podcasts, that narcissists don't have empathy. So if you're not fostering empathy into your relationship, you might want to start taking some notice if the person you with is a narcissist, okay? Pay attention to that. It also fosters understanding, okay? Understanding is important, because when the person starts understanding where you're coming from, they start respecting you too. So it creates a safe space for the both of you to acknowledge your mistakes, learn, and to grow together. This is how you get these couples who seem to be so happy. And you say, oh, they never had no problems. They've been together for X amount of years. And every time I see them, they just smiling and stuff. I guarantee you 100% there have been problems in their relationship. Especially if they've been together longer than a year. There has been problems in their relationship. What it is that they learn to forgive each other and move on. Not just forgive each other and move on, but they learn to forgive each other, work through whatever that issue was, so they can move on. All right? So it's also important because it's what it does. It supports your mental and your physical well-being. That is very important, because you fostering any type of unforgiveness in your heart, it basically, it's not that it just affects you or the other person in a physical aspect. It also starts internalizing itself inside of you. What it does is you start carrying around this resentment towards this person, and it can create stress in you. Yeah. Anxiety, fear of the unknown. That's what anxiety is. And even physical health problems, okay? Such as high blood pressure, heart disease, all that. You might say, really? Yes, really. You sitting here mad at somebody, constantly not forgiving this person for what they done to you. Now you're finding yourself sick, and you don't know where these chronic illnesses are showing up at. They're showing up because of that unforgiveness that you're carrying around. It turned into a bitter pill, and now it's poisoning your body. So forgiveness promotes emotional balance, which positively affects both of you, your overall well-being. So don't sit there and go. This is where you get that. Don't go to bed angry. You know, I remember my first marriage. I used to hear people say, don't go to bed angry. And I did. I went to bed angry a lot because we would fight, argue over stupid stuff. And I mean petty stuff. And I used to be mad. And I'm like, because we was having therapy during that time. And the therapist would be like, don't go to bed angry. And I used to say, really? So I guess I ain't going to sleep because I'm mad in the mug. I guess I'm not going to sleep, We ain't going to sleep. You ain't going to sleep. I ain't going to sleep. We ain't none of us going to sleep. We're going to be up all the time. And it did come to a point where it was like that. I remember in our last days of us being married, being together in the same home, my first husband stayed up for 3 days straight, 72 hours. He did not sleep. I thought he had lost his mind to a point to where I locked the bedroom door because I wasn't quite sure where his mental was because we was mad at each other. And he would stay up playing the video games, talking on the phone to whoever he was talking to. I would be eavesdropping, have my little ears up to the door, trying to hear what he's talking about and who he's talking to. And don't let it be a woman because I will go ballistic. So he knew better not to do that. So he would be talking to his aunt. I remember one time he was talking to his aunt on the phone. And I heard her tell him, because he had on speakerphone, he thought I was asleep. And it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up to use the restroom because I'm telling you, I went to sleep. I don't care how angry you are. I was going to sleep. You can stay up if you want to. Don't go to bed, sleep my tail. I'm getting my sleep. So he be in that living room because we had a 2-bedroom home at this time. And I would lock that. No, we had a 3-bedroom home. My bad. Let me get it right. I would lock our main bedroom door because I would tell him, if you're going to be mad, you stay in the other room. Don't come in here. And there's a restroom on the other side of the other house. You don't have no reason to come over here. And I would lock the door, but I would listen in. I would be like, who's he talking to? And I heard his aunt one time. She told him, it's funny how all this stuff is coming back to my memory. She told him, this is why you shouldn't have married her. Because y'all two wasn't ready for marriage. And y'all had a fight right before you got married, which that was true. We did have a fight before we got married. Matter of fact, we had an argument on our wedding day. That's how crazy I was. I was silly as hell. I was 24 years old, okay? I was young, and then I was stupid, and I was in love. And that's exactly what he was too. He was 24, stupid, and in love. And we had an argument on our wedding day. You would think that we should not have seen each other, but we did. We wasn't listening to nothing the counseling was saying. We was getting premarital counseling, everything. Matter of fact, the counselor told us not to get married. He was like, y'all not ready. I'm not going to marry y'all. And we end up finding someone else to marry us. I think back on this stuff and I say, boy, if I would have only listened. But I sit back and I start, because I do a lot of reflection. I reflect a lot. And I reflect on it and I say, you know what? I went through that so I can be where I'm at today. Because I would have never went through those things. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. There's no way I'll be able to coach you guys about relationship issues and growth and moving on and stress and anxiety. There's no way, because I would never experience it to teach you. So I don't regret any of those things. I just look back at it and laugh and say, boy, was I silly? I was silly, boy. But I can laugh at it because I have overcome, and I'm able to teach you guys. So some of you guys, I'm sorry to say, if y'all went through some of the things I went through, you wouldn't probably be here today. Some of you guys won't survive if you continue to go through what you're going through. Your health might be at risk, okay? So we don't want you having any health issues. So please learn to forgive. Now, just because you forgive someone don't mean you got to stay with them. It don't mean you got to be with them, okay? If it's something that they did that is so hurtful to you, you might want to forgive and let go. Meaning that forgive them and let them go. You might have to do that too. But just know that you don't want to hold on to the hurt, all right? So also forgiveness is important because it models healthy behavior. You don't know who's watching you, okay? Forgiveness teaches mutual respect and how to handle conflict constructively. Not all that crazy rah-rah stuff like I used to do. It also sets the perfect example for your children and for other people who are observing your relationship. You don't know who's watching you. I've listened to, matter of fact, I had an ex-boyfriend who was against marriage. He said he'd never ever get married, even though he lied because he's married right now. But he used to always say, I never get married, I never get married. And I said, why though? And he said, because all the marriages that I have seen, including my own parents, my best friend, my siblings, their marriage never worked. They was always fighting, arguing, or even cheating on each other. So basically, because of their marriages not working, he felt like if his wasn't going to work, so if he got married, then his was going to fail too. So that's why I say you never know who's watching you, who's watching your relationship. If you learn to show forgiveness to your mate and others are paying attention to that, and they see the outcome is positive, then it gives them hope that they can also have a healthy relationship too. If people constantly keep observing bad marriages or even a relationship period, they're going to feel that there's no hope for them. So they're not going to strive to try to do the right thing to be in a healthy relationship or marriage. So it's also important. Forgiveness is also important because it preserves love and compassion. Love thrives on the atmosphere of grace and compassion. If you definitely want anyone to have compassion for you and your feelings, then you must have the same for them. So forgiveness reminds the two of you of why you value each other, and it helps to resonate feelings of love, even after any type of disagreement. All disagreements doesn't have to be something that you fight about. A good discussion is what it is, just a discussion. All right? So forgiveness doesn't mean that you need to be condoning bad behavior. I'm gonna get that straight right now. Okay? It's not, he did this to me and then I gotta forgive him and then he keep doing it. No. It doesn't mean that. Okay? Or it doesn't even mean that you need to honestly just forget about it. Because sometimes you forget, you end up repeating. So keep it at the forefront to make sure you remember. But you don't want to keep bringing it up. All right? You don't want to do that. What it's about is letting go of the negative emotions. And when you let go of the negative emotion, it protects you from the pain.
We'll be back after a quick break.
If you haven't already, check out my luxury shoe and bag collection, a Layla Cara style. Each piece is personally designed by me and handcrafted from genuine Italian leather. Whether you're dressing up or keeping it casual, these pieces were made to help you walk with confidence. Because real style starts from how you feel. Go to alaylacarolstyle.com and experience these bold, timeless, and completely all you. Check it out. You might find something you like. All right. I want to ask you a question though. What's your take on this? What do you think? about what I just said. Some of y'all might say, oh, no, because if I forgive, then that gives him the power. No, it doesn't. If you don't forgive, they got the power. When you do forgive, you get the power. You have the power. The power is all yours, not theirs, okay? So this is why you want to forgive. Forgiveness is like, okay, let's put it like this. You got 2 big pack bags of potatoes. Potatoes. Each bag is carrying about 100 potatoes in each sack. They're on your shoulders. You have to walk 15 miles with these potatoes on your shoulders. And every step you take is heavy, and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And it's all because you won't forgive. You're carrying around this sack of potatoes. The moment that you say, you know what, I'm tired of carrying these potatoes around. I don't need to carry them no more. I need to put these potatoes in a wagon and then pull them. Now I'm going to forgive. Now you just release your shoulders and you got your shoulders back. You feel lighter, you feel more energized, and you feel a sense of relief. You feel great. But you haven't lost your potatoes though. You still got them. They're still there. You still are able to carry them and bring them with you. It's just you're not having a heavy load anymore. So you forgave, but you haven't forgotten. And you're able to use those potatoes at your destination. So when you forgive, you're able to have compassion for the person that you're with, okay, that you're forgiving. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So let's keep it moving. Let's go a little deeper into the depths of forgiveness and why it's very essential in your relationship. Because if you plan on getting married, if you haven't gotten married before, or you are married and you want to keep your marriage, you need to listen up, all right? So here's a deeper dive into why forgiveness is essential in your relationship, to any relationship, okay? It prevents emotional distance. Unforgiveness and having unforgiveness, what it does is that it creates a conflict of emotional walls between you and your partner. Over time, these walls can lead to disconnection, misunderstanding, as well as feeling of loneliness. And we talked about this before with trust. And it's the same with unforgiveness, okay? They go hand in hand, actually. So forgiveness breaks down these barriers, helping to restore intimacy and connection in your relationship. Also, fosters a supportive environment. Because if you want to be forgiven, you must forgive, okay? So in a forgiving relationship, both of you will feel safe to express yourself without fear of judgment or prolonged anger. This encourages honest communication and vulnerability, which are keys to a long-term happy relationship. Want your relationship to last? Forgiveness, all right? For real. I always tell people to pick your battles. There are some things that you should fight about, and there's some things that you shouldn't fight about. For example, for me, my current husband, he's a serial procrastinator. I think I mentioned this before. Pretty sure I have. He still is, to this day, a serial procrastinator. And I will mention something to him, and I know that at some point he's going to get to it. He just ain't going to get to it when I want him to. But I just learned that I shouldn't make a big deal out of it. Just don't make a big deal out of it. Yes, I love a clean house and I want my house to be clean. But I do know that my husband is messy. So I know I'm going to come home to a messy house. If I come home early and he wasn't expecting me to come home, it's going to be even more, it's going to even be messier. My son is going to help him in the mess because he's going to be messy too. So I came home yesterday and both of them was sick with the norovirus. And you would have thought that I should have been so like, I should have been like, oh my God, my babies are sick. Let me help y'all. I wasn't like that. I was, oh, hell no. Y'all both sick? What's really going on around here? What is that smell? That was me. Because my husband was upstairs and my son was upstairs, both of them throwing up. And then my son ran to the restroom and he had diarrhea. My husband had diarrhea. I'm like, what is happening? And he gonna say, what you cooked? Where you get that food from? I said, baby, it's not the food. It's not the food because I ate the same food. Ain't nothing wrong with me. So what's going on? What are you talking about? And he's like, nah, something's wrong. I'm sick. I'm not feeling well. Oh my God. And then he got the trash can and he just got to throwing up in it. And I was like, oh no. And then my son threw up on the floor and I was so livid. I was like, you gonna clean that up? I am not gonna clean up, throw up. And then I was gagging at the same time because of the smell. And I'm like, ooh, I'm sorry. I cannot do this. Y'all gonna clean, y'all mess up. So I ended up putting on the face mask, put some gloves on, went and got some disinfectant. I left the house, went into the store. I ended up buying some more disinfectant. I ended up getting them some Powerade. I got some soup. I ended up getting all kinds of stuff for electrolytes. I was loading up. And then I came back to the house and I'm like, son, you're going to have to help me out. I can't clean up that throw up. You're going to have to clean that up. And we can't just leave it on the floor. So are you strong enough to help me at least try to scoop this up and then I can come in and spray it and do all that? But I can't do this with this. I got a weak stomach, you guys. And I know I got a weak stomach. So my husband, I didn't do that with because like I said, I had to pick my battles, right? I said, okay. So I go up in the room with him and I'm like, son, honey, look, I'm going to take this trash can now. I'm going to clean it out outside. I'm going to hose it down and spray it out. And I'm going to come back and put a trash liner on it and I'm going to bring it back to you. And you please throw it in the trash liner, not just the bucket. I mean, please. And so basically what I'm saying is that you got to learn how to pick your battles. Some battles you can fight, some you can't. And I had to pick between the two. Like, I know I can get my son to do stuff, but my husband, that was a whole other story. Plus, he's a big baby when he gets sick. And my son, yeah, he is the baby, but he's a lot tougher. I got to give it to him. He's something else. I trip out on him sometimes on how tough he is. That's why I have to be on him about that cat. I want to see some emotional side of him, but I kind of got to break. I got to break through on that anyway. So let's just keep on going. So basically, what you want to make sure you do is pick your battles because there's some things you don't have to fight about. So you want to be real careful with, is it that important? Okay. Questioning yourself. Is this really that important? I need to fight about this or not. And of course, I did end up cleaning up the mess, changed the sheets, I washed everything, and I didn't sit down at all when I got home. I think by the time I did sit down, it was nighttime, dark, because I got off at 6 o'clock that morning, and I didn't really sit down until almost dark. It was getting dark by the time I actually got a chance to get off my feet. So I had a lot to do. So anyways, also forgiveness, it releases control over the past. You don't have to keep reliving it, okay? Holding on to a grudge keeps the focus on the past wrong, which can prevent your relationship from moving forward. Forgiveness what it does is that it shifts the focus on the present as well as the future, allowing the two of you to grow stronger together. That's another reason why if you want a stronger relationship, I have heard people say, especially women, I want my marriage to go better. I want it to grow. I want us to keep going and grow and get further in our marriage. But then that same woman starts talking about some stuff that happened back in the day. Yeah, when you did this to me and you did that to me, I'm like, okay, but I thought you wanted your marriage to grow. If you wanted to grow, then why are we talking about that back there? I also do that to my mama too. I do. My mama's like that too. She always talk about peace and everything. I got peace, and then she started talking about something that happened in the past, and I'm like, Mom, I thought you said you wanted some peace, so why are we talking about that? Now I get to a point when I'm like, look, we're not even gonna talk about that. Let's get past that and let's talk about something else. I'm not gonna listen to you talk about that. I'm not going to let you put that in my ear. Now, you want to talk about it? Talk to yourself about that. But you're not going to talk to me about it because that's over with. My brother's like that too. It's sad, but he is. He brought up some things to me the other day that happened 6 years ago. And I'm like, really? That's where we at right now? We back there? We ain't gonna do this. I literally told him, I said, I will not talk to you if that is what we're going to be talking about, because you already know what happened. You know I was not involved in that. And then you also know that I have moved on. And he was basically harping on some situation that happened with my mom and with our mother and our dad and his son, and you know how I end up with his son, which I end up adopting his son, and he's my son now. And I'm telling my brother that he needs to learn to take some accountability of why things are the way they are, because of decisions that he and his wife made to have his son taken from them in the first place. And that was 6 years ago. I wasn't involved in that. Only thing I was involved in was getting him out of the foster home. And my brother felt like I had something to do with that, but I didn't. So he was on this stuff, but he had plenty of time to talk to me about this. And now we did discuss it, but yet he still was bringing it back up. I don't harp in the past like that. Now my brother got an opportunity to start having a relationship with his son because I let his son stayed with him for 2 weeks during Christmas. So his son got a chance to spend Christmas with him. My husband and I had agreed to let our son go and spend time with his biological father. And I'm like, you should have been happy with that. At least that's what I thought you would have been. But instead, you are tripping about that because you're talking about, and a part of me felt like maybe when I came to come pick him up, he probably felt like he shouldn't have to be leaving me. That's what I was thinking. But when my son started telling me what was going on while he was there with him, now keep in mind my son is 11 now, he was telling me everything that was going on while he was there with them, and I realized that my brother is not fit to be a parent. And that is why he don't have his son, because things that my son was telling me that was going on, I was like, really? And I told my son, so you don't have to ever worry about going back over there again if you don't want to. Matter of fact, I'm not going to let you go, even if you say you do, not until you're older. And I mean 18, where you can defend yourself, because I didn't like some of the things I heard. So that is the past. But I realized that because of the hurt that my brother was holding on to, he was also displaying some of that even with his own son. My son said that he yelled at him because he told him to do something and he didn't do it properly. He was doing it, but not properly the way he wanted it done. And then like my husband was like, you don't never, ever yell or mistreat him, because you're not invested in him. Matter of fact, this is just not going to work out. So I realized that in a situation like that, people don't know how to move on. And it's mainly because they won't accept responsibility and be held accountable for their actions. If you learn to take accountability for your actions, you will be able to move forward in a lot of things. Okay? Learn how to own it. You did it, so own it. If you're big enough to do whatever it is, then you're also big enough to handle what comes with it. And if you're not, then don't do it. Okay? If you made a mistake, just say you made a mistake and learn from that. Okay? So forgiveness also creates the foundation of mutual respect. You learn how to forgive, and the person forgives you. Y'all learn how to have respect for one another. Forgiveness shows the both of you value of each other, and that you value each other enough to move on beyond the mistakes, because people make mistakes. It's just what it is. So you should be able to move on. If you are stuck, something is wrong with you, that you can't get past something. And if you are the one who's trying to move on and get past, and your partner is the one that's not, then something's wrong with them. But y'all need to actually open up and find out, what's the root cause of this problem? Why is this really happening this way? So what it does is that it reinforces respect and equality in your relationship. It lets you know that you're valued and they're valued as well. So what it does, it reminds both of you that y'all have a shared commitment to each other. That's what it does. And that respect goes a very long way. Also, it breaks the cycle of retaliation, because it's nothing like retaliating, getting revenge on your mate. Boy, I tell you right now, without forgiveness, resentment can lead to a toxic cycle of blame. You did this to me. You did that to me. You did this. You did this. No, you did that. Well, you did this, and y'all back and forth with all this retaliation. And then it also leads to hurtful action. So now, let's say, for instance, your mate cheated on you. Now, you so hurt that you want to get them back, and you decide that you want to go and cheat so you can get them back. It's not going to help you. You cheating ain't going to help, okay? You're not going to help the situation. You just made it worse. So forgiveness stops this cycle. That's what it does. Preventing destructive behavior from taking place and also taking over your relationship. Because before you know it, you be so stuck and deep into it that you can't forgive. You can't move on. Now you got to break up, and that's the only way you can move on. And then you still not forgiving, because now when you get into a new relationship, you carrying that same resentment with you into that relationship. And that's where the trust issue come in at. And you see how that works hand in hand? Okay, then. But forgiveness also builds emotional resilience. Forgiveness strengthens the ability to cope with challenges and disagreement. You're going to have disagreements, okay? There's no relationship that doesn't have it. You're going to have it. And when forgiveness is practiced regularly in your relationship, both of you become more emotional resilient. And it also helps you to better be equipped to handle future conflicts. So because you're going to come into some more conflicts down the road, okay? Forgiveness also help you to acknowledge the human imperfection in the both of you. Because if you sit here and think that you're perfect and your mate can't be perfect, I mean, you put it like this, you're perfect and your mate got to be perfect too, or you can be human but your mate can't be, that is not going to work. You're going to have some issues out of this world, like for real. And you are going to have a battle to fight all the time. Matter of fact, you're going to end up losing your mate behind that. They're going to end up leaving because there's too much to live up to. Nobody can live up to those standards. All right. So what it does is everyone, you got to realize that everyone makes mistakes. Even when you're trying to be perfect, you're going to make mistakes anyway. Have you ever noticed that? I know I'm like this. When I'm in a hurry, I always do something. I might scratch my hand. I might scratch myself up. I might trip and fall on something. Or I might tear if I'm putting on my stockings for work because they make us wear pantyhose when we wear the dresses for the flight attendant. I might tear and run because I'm in a hurry. I'm always rushing. So that is the imperfection in me as being human. Okay? So acknowledge the fact that you're not perfect and you're going to make a mistake. So by forgiving, the both of you will accept each other's flaws. And that's what you want to do. You want to accept the fact. Actually, when you accept the flaws of your mate, it releases stress off of you. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm letting you know it does. Because now you expect them to make mistakes. And you're not uptight. You don't have this uptight attitude about when they do make a mistake. When it happens, you're not surprised. And it helps you to focus on each other's strengths a whole lot more instead of focusing on each other's flaws because you accept it. Like, my husband's flawed. I know my husband is flawed. Oh, yeah. But I'm okay with it. I am okay with his flaws. Matter of fact, some of his flaws to me is what makes me love him even more. Because I can be myself with him. Oh, yeah. Yesterday was a prime example. Him, grown man. In his vulnerable state of being sick like that, I got a chance to show up for him and help to nurse him back to health. This morning, when I got up, he got up, and I said, "How you feeling?" He was like, "I feel better. I feel good." And I was like, "I'm glad I came home so I can nurse y'all two back together. But I got to go back to work today, right?" And my son, he woke up this morning throwing up again. But then after I fed him and I gave him some medicine, I gave both of them medicine. I get them Pepto-Bismol or whatever. It does work. Pepto-Bismol is really good for you when you are nauseous. If you got nausea, headache, heartburn, indigestion, diarrhea. That commercial is funny to me. Excuse me. That commercial is hilarious because it works. I'm not promoting them, but it's the truth. It works. Because it stopped my husband from having diarrhea, but it didn't stop him from vomiting. He was still throwing up. But eventually this morning, he was better. And just to see him in that vulnerable state, it grew us closer. Because now he always trusted me. But it made him trust me even more. Because he know that, dang, my wife came home for me. She could have been at work. Because I was supposed to be at work. But she came home. And she nursed me back to health. My son, same thing. When I told him this morning I got to go back to work, he was like, "Oh, man." I said, "Baby, I'm sorry, but I got to go back to work." And then he was like, "Oh, man." I said, "I'm sorry, baby, but I got to go back to work." And then eventually he was like, "Okay, I know." I said, "But guess what? I'm off tomorrow." So, anyways, let's keep it moving because I'm taking too long. I'm getting long-winded here. So let's go ahead and finish this up. I'm going ahead and finish it up for you guys. So, forgiveness, what it also does is deepens your emotional intimacy. The act of forgiveness requires understanding, empathy, and communication. These elements deepens emotional intimacy as they demonstrate that both of you are willing to work together through tough times. Forgiveness also encourages long-term stabilities. Okay? This is where this long, healthy relationship come in at. Couples who practice forgiveness are more likely to stay together because they're building a foundation of grace and resilience. They see challenges as opportunity to grow, not a reason to separate, okay? And too many people use this as a reason to separate. Oh, he did that to me, or she did me like that. I want a divorce. Oh, I don't want to be with you no more. I can't do this no more. But when you don't learn to let it go and forgive and learn from it and take it to a place of understanding where you can start growing with each other, that's why you have so many divorces going on, because each other don't want to listen to each other, and not only listen, understand each other, and then work through the problems, grow. And now you can continue with your healthy relationship and marriage, okay? Forgiveness also protects against bitterness. Unforgiven hurt can harden into bitterness. Have you ever noticed a person who is so angry all the time about everything? And then when you talk about, especially, let's give you an example of a woman who's been married and now she's divorced and she never forgave her husband. And now she's old or older, much older than what she was when she got the divorce. Now she thinks all men are the same. Now she became bitter because she never forgave him, and she doesn't have a boyfriend or a husband. She never remarried, or she remarried and things still didn't work out for her, and now she thinks that all men are the same. That's bitterness. It's ugly. And it's ugly for her because it's hard for anyone to find her attractive if she's bitter. No one wants to be around a bitter person. It's not pretty at all, and it's very uncomfortable. So, unforgiving hurt. You have to forgive the hurt. That way you can get past the pain. It can harden into bitterness, which poisons your emotions and keep you from being able to have a healthy relationship. Okay? Forgiveness neutralizes this negativity, allowing your relationship to remain nurturing as well as supportive. Okay? You want to nurture your relationship. Forgiveness also strengthens conflict resolution. So I have a podcast on conflict resolution, so you can go back to season 6 to listen to that. I teach you how to resolve issues and everything. So practicing forgiveness teaches you how to resolve conflict. You want to do it the right way. You don't want to be hitting below the belt. I know people who do that, and that makes the situation worse. I mean, you don't need that. Don't add fuel to the fire, all right? Over time, this leads to more effective problems. You know, if you do right by paying attention to your mate in the middle of an argument, listen to what your mate is really saying to you. That way you get the opportunity to hear what they always wanted to say to you, but listen for the quiet part. And what I'm trying to explain to you is the part where They might say something like, you do this all the time. Okay, this all the time part bothers them. Whatever that is that you're doing, it's that all the time part. You need to discuss that all the time part. What is it about that all the time part that you need to be understanding? Because you want to make sure that you are solving the problem that you're having, not creating more problems that you're having. So you want to de-escalate the situation. You want to discuss anything that needs to be talked about so you can come up with an agreement. And then that way you'll be able to get to the root problem of what you are dealing with. All right. So forgiveness also creates happiness. Did you know that? Yes. Forgiveness helps you to increase your happiness. It reduces stress and promotes a sense of peace, which enhances overall happiness. Remember, no one can make you happy but yourself. So if you forgive, now you will feel better. So in your relationship, this happiness can spread. Not only that you happy, he's happy too. She's happy too. Creating a more positive and joyful dynamic between the two of you. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Well, you know now. So you want to invite gratitude, because that's what forgiveness does. It invites gratitude into the place. Yeah, forgiveness reminds you two of the good in your relationship. Why are you together in the first place? What got you together? What is it that keeps you there? By focusing on gratitude for the love and support that you share with each other, the two of you are more likely to appreciate each other over tearing each other down. And the life that you are building together, you will be able to build that life on a solid foundation instead of a rocky one, or a sandy one for that matters. So forgiveness is a gift for you and for your partner. It's not just for one person, it's for the both of you, okay? It's a gift. When you say I forgive you, you are giving yourself a gift of healing, and you are giving your partner a gift of being appreciated, of knowing that they are human and flawed and they can make a mistake without being beat up about it. All right? So just remember that it doesn't mean that you ignore your boundaries, though. This is why boundaries are so important. If they crossing your boundaries and they cross it too many times, you can still forgive them, but you might have to exit the relationship if it doesn't stop, because you don't want to excuse harmful behavior. If they're hitting you, you don't want that. If they constantly cheating on you, making babies and stuff like that, come on now, that ain't right. If they're disrespecting you constantly, that ain't right. Yes, you can forgive them, but you don't have to stay with them. You don't have to put up with that mess. So you got to understand your boundaries. Have them put in place and keep it there. And let them know, I'm not going to stand for this. I can say I forgive you, but baby, I don't have to stay with you. All right? So you want to choose love, understanding, and growth throughout all your relationships. And if you ain't getting that, then you ain't got no relationship. Just letting you know that, okay? So let me ask you a question. What specific situation or situations or challenges do you think forgiveness might help you when you are addressing it? You don't know the question? I can ask you that again. What specific situation or situations or challenges do you think forgiveness might help you in addressing whatever it is you need to address? What do you think it can help you with. If you forgave it. You forgive them from cheating on you and now you can move on. Or you forgive them for cheating on you, but you can't move on with the relationship. You need to move on with yourself. But you still forgive them. Or let's say they lied about something, but it's not really something that is so major, but yet they say they acknowledge the lie and they won't do it again. Do you forgive them for that? And then you understand that they made a mistake and they won't do it again? Do you trust them? Those type of things is what I'm talking about. Think about it. And let's see how better you would be. Because this podcast is all about you. For this entire year, 2025, I'm going to be addressing issues with you. With your choices, the people you are involved with, your relationships, with your romantic relationship and your family dynamic relationship, as well as colleagues and friends. So, I hope this helped. I'm signing out. Alayla. Are you feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by stress? Introducing Stress Management with Imaging Coaching, your ticket to a calmer, more balanced life. In this journey you will be taking with us here at Imaging Coaching, we'll equip you with powerful techniques and tools you can use to conquer stress, regain control, and transform your life. From deep breathing exercises to mindfulness practices, you'll discover the tools to relax your mind and body. Come join us on this transformative path and unlock a world of inner peace and resilience. Don't let stress hold you back any longer. Take charge of your well-being today with Imaging Coaching, your stress management team. Discover clarity. Defeat stress through Imaging Coaching at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com.